All right, first things first. If you have any questions, talk to me after the talk is done. Just easier that way. We can get them answered, etc. Also, if you want one of these dope shirts that says "This is fine," if you want to know more about TuxCare, I can talk to you about TuxCare, and I can give you a VIP card. And we have like 4 shirts that you can get for free. So just come see me. I got the VIP cards with me. It's cool. So we have an hour. I'll try to fill an hour. Oh, shit. I'll try to fill an hour, like I said. It's extremely hard to fill 60 minutes, but I will do my best. If we end early, we end early. You could pop in another talk. Do whatever you want. It's totally up to you. A huge shout out to Atlanta DevCon. Is this anybody's first ATL DevCon? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's cool. So this is my second one. Great event that they put on. So huge shout out to the organizers and the volunteers, anybody that you see. Shout out to the sponsors. If you get a chance, thank your sponsors. If it wasn't for sponsors, we would not have developer community. We would not have conferences. Conferences cost money. And 2020 was a crappy year. In my personal opinion, I think we almost lost the developer community. I don't know about you, but giving a conference talk into a camera without being able to see my beautiful audience is kind of a pain in the ass. Still had to do it, but because of sponsors, we brought this back, and this is where we thrive. I say all the time that you can learn all you want in this room. The community is not built here. The community is built out there in the hallway track. The hallway track is essential. Breakfast and lunch and dinners and happy hours, right? So thank you, sponsors, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do this. And that brings me to this. If you are on Twitter, which I hope all of you are on Twitter, it will never be X, it will always be Twitter. Or if you're on Blue Sky, or if you're on LinkedIn, if you're tweeting, taking pictures, whatever you're doing, if you could throw hashtag developer community on there, I would really, really appreciate it. The official hashtag for the event too is also ATL DevCon, and you can see that down here in the slides, ATL DevCon. Like I was saying, I feel like we almost lost developer community. Developer community is my lifeblood. I travel around the world and I give conference talks. I built a career on web accessibility and semantic markup and CSS architecture. And I've done everything from DevOps to cloud, and now I'm doing cybersecurity. We need the community, and the community is built in the hallway track. So hashtag developer community on anything that you're doing, and I would really, really appreciate that as well. These were the show notes that I was talking about, so if you want to take a picture of this QR code, bless you. This will take you to tuxcare.com/show notes or shownotes.tuxcare.com, and it might redirect you. The slides are available. Once this video is uploaded, like I said, you can fill out the form to enter the giveaway, and you'll be notified when the video drops. Should be sometime next week. I just got to edit it and stuff like that. This will be available at the end as well. My name is Chris. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. You can catch me on Twitter at Salt and Burnham, right here. Any Supernatural fans in the audience? Perfect. I love it. Then you understand the reference. Buffy fans? Come on. What? Charmed fans? Oh my gosh. All right, this gets everybody. Stranger Things fans? There we go. There we go. There we go. Did everybody see the last season of Stranger Things? No, I can't spoil stuff for you, man. Shit. Fine. I'm a senior developer advocate. I work at TuxCare. We do a bunch of different things at TuxCare. We do kernel patching, but the main thing that I focus on is ELS for EOL systems. Does anybody know what those 2 acronyms mean? No? Perfect. Then come and talk to me afterwards. I'll give you a VIP card and we can talk about it. The gist of it is we provide end-of-life solutions for end-of-life, endless life cycle support for end-of-life solutions. So if you're running like old versions of Linux, if you're running old versions of Angular or AngularJS, Python, .NET, we come in and we patch those security vulnerabilities. You pull in our dependencies, and then you got secured patching moving forward. And we also patch transitive dependencies as well. We're going to talk about that stuff. If you could do me a huge favor, though, please, please, please. We are running a contest at TuxCare. And LinkedIn, Twitter, you can even hit me up on Blue Sky. If you tag us, though, and you tell us your worst dev horror story, you dropped a database, you pushed a prod on a Friday, whatever is the worst thing, you can be entered into the contest. It's all month of October. I think first prize is a portable monitor. So if you've never seen a portable monitor, I don't have it with me, it's in my hotel room. And a couple other cool things, but you have to use the hashtag TuxCare. So enter that contest. I want to see your stories, and at the end of the month, we're going to go through every single one of them and choose a winner. And this is pinned to the TuxCare Twitter as well, and then you can go to my Twitter and find out all about it. But it's now, well, it started October 1st. It's going to go all the way to the 31st. So, and I'm a huge horror fan, and my life revolves around horror and paranormal, which you're going to learn too. I believe in Bigfoot. I also believe in ghosts, and I also believe in UFOs. Does anybody believe in Bigfoot, ghosts, and UFOs? Oh, you guys aren't going to like this talk. But this is the title, Know Your JS, SBOMs for Front-End Devs, or the alternate title. The Men in Black know what's in your JavaScript, and this is how you fix it. The Men in Black are real, by the way. It's not just a movie. Has everybody seen the Men in Black movies? All right, it's real, trust me. There is a trigger warning, though. This talk contains aliens, UFOs, and UAPs. So if you are not into that world, it might trigger you. Is everybody cool with that? There's some scary stuff in this talk. All right. So what does this have to do with this? Can anybody tell me? I'll go back. Now this is the gimbal footage that came out a few years back. What does this have to do with that? What else? I'm blowing your minds right now, right? UFOs and code, I don't get it. Sort of has something to do like this. Does anybody remember this movie, Independence Day? Great movie. Great movie, Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum. So in this scene, what did they do? They injected a virus into the mothership. Therefore, that virus went into all the children's ships, and the children's ships went down, right? So you can sort of think about that as supply chain, right? Packages are out there, they affect one package, those packages get affected by other packages, and all hell breaks loose, right? It's unexplainable. It can be unexplainable. But I can assure you, where the hell did that go? That the truth is out there. Anybody a fan of the X-Files? All right, cool. Right on. All right, question. How many dependencies does the average JavaScript app have? 300 million. What do you think? Front row.
More than you think, Alex.
More than you think. Well, we have a way to tell. You can run this command in your terminal. If you run npm ls, this will give you a list of your direct dependencies. And this is what that looks like. Just pop in your terminal, npm ls, and boom. This is for, I think, an Angular 20, an Angular v20 project. There we go. These are your direct dependencies right here. Now, why not list all of them? Why wouldn't you want to do something like that? Okay. It's meaningless? Okay, sure, yeah. It can be never ending. It can overload your terminal and just keep going and going and going and going, because we all know how the node modules works, right? It's just an endless black hole. You can do it though. You just run npm ls, excuse me, -all, and boom. Let's see how this works. This is in the same Angular app. This is for an mi.net talk, by the way, Alex. Let's see, let's go up. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. It just keeps going and going and going. It does stop at some point. That's it. That's listing everything, both your direct and your transitive, right? So when we talk about direct dependencies, we're talking about those main ones, right? Those main ones that you see in your package JSON. That's in the root of your directory, your root project, your root your folder system. Here's an example. Now this is in a Next project. So if you were to install Next, your dependencies are React, React DOM, and Next. Next is a direct dependency right off the rip, okay? But then we have transitive dependencies. Now the way you can think of a transitive dependency is by something like this. Does everybody know what this is? No? It's a face hugger. Has anybody seen the movie Alien and Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Alien versus Predator, any of them? So a face hugger sort of implants a xenomorph into the body. The person carries it around and it's a chest burster, and I'm not gonna go into specifics, but just watch the movie. But you can sort of think of like a transitive dependency like that. If you were to go into the Next package inside the node modules folder, and you find your Next package, and you go into your package JSON, you're gonna find the env package. The env package comes along with Next as a transitive dependency. But you're not gonna know that unless you go into your node modules. And how many of us are going through and searching node modules on a daily basis? Alex, there's an exit. We know you do. I sure as hell am not. I'm not gonna go through the node modules and look through every single package and every single package JSON file to see what came along for the ride. I'm just gonna trust that it's legit because I know someone smarter than me built this library or this utility library, and I'm not as smart as they are. So why, it's not up to me. I don't have the authority to question them, right? So I'm just gonna trust them. But trusting can come along with a lot of security risks and problems. So let's take this for example. This is not real, I just made it up. But let's say you want to build a UFO tracker, or you wanna build some type of application that tracks UFO data. And you install this cool package from NPM, right? NPM install UFO tracker. And this UFO tracker comes along with a little bit of data already. Some of it was taken from Project Blue Book. Some of it was taken from the Roswell files. Some of it was taken from the Hynek report. Some of it was taken from all the redacted things that you think you could figure out was taken from all these various places right here. Cool, you have some starter data, that's awesome. So you install npm UFO, or npm install UFO tracker. Cool, you're on your way, you're building this really, really cool tracker. You have some sightings that you're gonna put in there that you've seen yourself. Maybe you know someone that was abducted, you're gonna put their story in there. Don't give out names. But then some weird stuff starts happening to your machine. Maybe you're getting some weird phone calls, some weird text messages, and you pop into your node modules, and you go into your UFO tracker, you go into your package JSON of that UFO tracker, and you see, why isn't this working? This thing is so off. You see the MIB package that came along with your UFO tracker. Well, that's not good. Because what does that mean? Now they show up at your door, and now you got a bunch of problems. They want to know why you're using the UFO tracker. They want to know if you've had a sighting. They want to know if you have any pictures, any video, any other data, and they tell you that you have to get rid of it. Because if not, you know, bad things can happen. We want to make sure we alleviate all of these problems, right? The reason I bring this up is because there's a couple of these supply chain attacks have happened, and NPM attacks have happened. One big one, this is from GlueStack. Active NPM attack escalates 16 React Native packages for GlueStack backdoored overnight. Does anybody use React Native to build anything? No? Is everybody familiar with React Native? Okay, cool. So GlueStack was targeted, and all of these packages were compromised. Maintained by GlueStack, the compromised packages include React Native ARIA Focus, which is an accessibility utility, utils, overlays, interactions, toggle, switch, checkbox, radio, button, menu, listbox, tabs, combo box, disclosure. I didn't put that in there to be funny. It's disclosure. Slider and separator, as well as GlueStack UI utils. And all of this was linked to the RAND user agent NPM package, which was like a random generator package that's used in multiple applications. There was another really, really big one that just happened recently as well. Is everybody familiar with Dune? I'm not familiar with Dune, but the Shai-Hulud package, right? The Shai-Hulud worm, all because of this package right here. It's the @ctrl control /tinycolor supply chain attack. 40 plus packages were infected, 2 million weekly downloads of that. And the severity level of that was critical, right? That is a direct dependency, but it is also a transitive dependency of other dependencies, right? So if you're downloading it, or you're downloading a package that uses this, and I think it's just a color utility. That's really all it does. It's for color. It's going to infect everything down the line, right? That's why we have to be really cognizant of what we're building. One of the things, and Alex has heard me say this before, like I said, I've spoken all around the world on web accessibility and UX. I've given talks on web performance. There are 3 things that always get put on the back burner until shit hits the fan. And all 3 of those things fall under the UX umbrella, the user experience. Accessibility, performance, security. If a user can't use the site because the colors don't work, well, now you have an accessibility problem on your hands, when that could have been fixed from the beginning. If your users are on a slow network, maybe they're in a tunnel, subway, something, and they can't use their website because it's slow, your critical rendering path isn't optimized, well, that stuff could have been fixed from the beginning. NPM packages, not sanitizing your markup, things like that. Security, all of that stuff could have been fixed from the beginning. If we're cognizant, that's why this stuff matters. There's even an executive order that came out, and you can research this. You can click the link in the slides when you get the slides. It's all the way to the top of the chain. In 2021, our current president at the time put in an executive order in place to help secure our nation for cybersecurity. And this really revolves around SBOMs and providing SBOMs and using SBOMs, right? It's really, really good. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a government person. It's hard to really break down in terms of what I could understand. But the gist of it is just that. It's a cybersecurity policy. That's an executive order, 14028. So you can Google that, executive order 14028, if you want to learn more about that. So let's talk about SBOMs. What is an SBOM? Has anybody heard the term SBOM? No? Awesome. Awesome. So an SBOM is a software bill of materials. Cool. Well, what does that mean? What is it? It is the name, versions, licenses, sources, hashes, tons and tons and tons of different things go into an SBOM. You can sort of think of it like a recipe, or a shipping manifest, or a flight manifest. It's all of the things that are going to go into your software, right? All your packages, etc. This is a great quote. This is from Tahir. This is on Medium. An SBOM, or software bill of materials, is a detailed machine-readable list of all components within a piece of software, including dependencies, metadata, and relationships between those components. But it's not just that, too. It's also the people. It's the people that are building this software. It's the security people. It's the front-end devs. It's the back-end devs. It's the product managers. It's the product owners. It's the architecture team. All of these pieces, including the software, come together in order to build this SBOM. At the end of the day, though, it is just readable code, machine and or human, depending on how you format it. But it's a list of things, all of these things that create the SBOM. So why do we need it? Why do you think we need an SBOM? I want to hear from the audience. We got plenty of time. We might go 45 minutes. Does that sound okay? Everybody cool, 45 instead of 60? Yep. Sweet, because we're at 10:21 right now. I got about maybe 20-ish slides left, so I just don't want to finish too early because y'all will be like, this guy sucks, he's a horrible speaker. Why do you think we need an SBOM?
In the modules, it's too intense. We need something to keep track of repeated dependencies and all that.
Okay, cool, I like that. What else?
Licenses.
Licenses, what else?
Or maybe it's just for the purposes of keeping track of what you're using, especially if it's a software for the government, so that they know that it fits the compliance standards, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, compliance is a good one. Compliance is really, really big. What else?
Being able to audit your things.
Yeah? What else? I'm looking at you. What else? I put you on the spot.
Not sure.
You're not, that's fine, that's fine. That's a great answer though, because if you're new to this, you might not know why. I don't know, maybe it's just another JSON artifact that's just gonna take up space, right? We gotta keep track of it somehow. How do we keep track of it, right? When do we audit? Stuff like that. One big reason is transparency, and all of that is transparency. You are being transparent with me because you don't know. That's fine. Knowing what is in our software, knowing what is building our software, knowing what the direct dependencies are, knowing what the transitive dependencies are, knowing what security vulnerabilities are out there and that are able to be patched, that are in these transitive dependencies that we didn't check in our node modules. But now we're having issues because the CVEs have finally come out, the common vulnerability and exposure. And disclosure. We need to know, right? Just like we need to know about UAPs and UFOs and USOs. USO is an unidentified submersible object or unidentified submersible phenomenon. We need to know. I like this. Did anybody watch any of this when this was going down with the UFO hearings? Were they human or non-human biologics? They were non-human biologics. This is still ongoing. It's fun. If you're not, I mean, if you're not really into the paranormal world, you're not gonna like it. But it's fine. Do the research. It's cool. Maybe you'll start believing. But it's also critical for two main things. Security and compliance. That goes back to the compliance piece. Enabling organizations to manage vulnerabilities, track those licenses, especially when it comes to compliance, and reduce the risk of hidden dependencies impacting operations. That's why we need this for security and compliance. The last thing you want at the end of the day is to have a lawsuit or a fine, a compliance fine, right? And there's tons of different compliance standards. A buddy of mine, also a buddy of Alex's, when I was doing this talk at the Michigan.net user group, we were talking about compliance, and I was unaware of this because I don't know if everybody knows all of the different compliance standards and the compliance laws out there, but there is, and Alex, you might know, because Hussein was talking to me about this, there is a compliance standard out there which in your licensing states something about working with open source, and it's an open source license. So if you were to use that product in your product has to be open source and cannot be closed source. It's some type of compliance that Hussein was talking about. I'm probably butchering the hell out of that, but it has to do with open source and closed source and using the license and making sure that anything that you use within that has to also be open source. Which is gnarly to think about, right? You have to really dig down deep and look at these things. You know, I've been a front-end developer for 30 years. I've been a developer advocate for unofficially since like 2012, 2013. But I mean, I still write code, right? I might not be the brightest and the best on the front end anymore because I've been a developer advocate for so long, and there's a lot of things that we do that's always context switching. We don't write code 40 hours a week anymore, so I don't have the time to always think about those things. But if I am writing code, all I'm worrying about is installing stuff and building stuff, right? Testing it, trying to break it. I'm not really thinking about, oh, hey, this license is in here. Well, if I do something with this project and I open source it, anything that I use or that's got to go into that also has to be, you're not thinking about these things until shit hits the fan, right? So when we talk about SBOMs, our software bill of materials, we have 6 types of SBOMs. And all of these have to go, they all deal with the SDLC, the software development lifecycle. They are all kind of placed all around the place. The first one is a design SBOM. And you can do the research on all this too as well. But like a design SBOM, it's intended components. It's to describe intended components of software artifacts. We have a source SBOM. This represents the source code of the software and its components. We have a build SBOM. That is generated during the software build process and reflects the components used to create the final artifact. We have an analyzed SBOM. It's created by analyzing the software's binaries, packages, or other artifacts, potentially using third-party tools. We have a deployed SBOM. It's almost done. We got one more. That's software components installed on a specific system. And then we have the runtime SBOM. It describes the components present and active in a running environment. The SBOM I'm going to show, the demo I'm going to do, and I'm not live coding because as a speaker, live coding just gets you into a whole lot of problems. We all know that, speakers in the room. But the one that I'm going to do is just kind of like a baseline SBOM. It's nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. It's just me doing it myself. I personally don't have an architecture team or a security team, so we're not doing all of these different things. But one thing to keep in mind, and always, always, always keep this in mind, that an SBOM is not a lock or a package file. So usually when you do an npm-y or you're installing something that comes with a package JSON, that package JSON generates a package lock to secure your dependencies so you can't override them. If you're using Yarn, I think Bun also has a lock file. If you're using Bun, I think PNPM has a lock file. An SBOM uses the lock file, it uses your package JSON, and it uses your node modules in order to create the SBOM, but it is not your SBOM. And you'll see what I mean when I go through that demo. So, to care or not to care, to be or not to be, should you care? Should you care about SBOMs?
Yeah.
That's a great answer. I'm glad you said yes. And if you just said no, I'm like, oh shit, what am I doing up here if you're going to say no? Just like accessibility and performance. 100% you should care. You should care about these things. I make this analogy, and it's not even an analogy, it's the truth. And when I do my accessibility talks, and I haven't done an accessibility talk in a very, very long time, but anything that I talk about that falls under the umbrella of UX, I'm going to state it. I want to get a read on the room. How many front-end devs are in here? Okay. Back-end devs. QA. Design. Product owner. Product marketer. C-suite VP director level.
I wish.
Yeah, right. Exactly. At the end of the day, and we take this for granted, some of us take it for granted. I used to take it for granted. At the end of the day, we are building software, correct? Okay. At the end of the day, are we usually worried about a 2-week sprint and getting shit done in Jira? Or whatever tracking system, Notion, Asana, whatever, right? At the end of the day, we're worried about getting code out, right? At the end of the day, we're worried about getting that check after 2 weeks, right? But we don't think about and we don't keep in mind is that that software that we're building and that we're pushing could be saving someone's life in a medical facility. At the end of the day, that software that we are pushing could be helping a child read at the end of the day. We are the world's greatest asset. We are the saviors for people that are in need when it comes to technology. We are standing on top of the world with what we are doing. But we don't think about that. After this talk, and hopefully if you stay in this is the front end room, go to any talk you want. There's going to be amazing talks all day. Alex is giving a talk in this room. Take a step back and think about, why am I doing this? Who am I impacting by building this software? Because by securing that software, you're keeping it secure across the organization. To building it to be accessible so everybody can use it, not just people with impairments. And performance. So in critical times, systems are up. It's not always about Jira in 2-week sprints or 3-week sprints in paychecks. We are making a huge difference. We are ambassadors to the world. And that's why you should care. We have a big problem though, and this is on the front end, and this is probably across the board, but I've seen it a lot on the front end, a big problem. Typosquatting. Is anybody familiar with the term typosquatting? You're gonna learn. See, if I was doing an accessibility talk, I could ask you, do you know what a numeronym is? And you'd probably be like, Alex does. You're like, no, and I'd teach you about numeronyms. Numeronym is take the first letter, the last letter, you shorten, count the letters in between. So A11Y, accessibility, I18N, internationalization, L10N, localization, CATES, Kubernetes. We can do this all day. That's what a numeronym is. It's just a shorter version of the word. Typosquatting, there's 2 different types of typosquatting. 2 different types of typosquatting. One you've probably encountered before. You might have went into your address bar and typed in GitHub or gathub.com or something funny like that, right? And that, luckily, never had the issue, but you quickly type something in your address bar, that domain is registered somehow, some way, and it takes you to a malicious website. That's a version of typosquatting. Another version of typosquatting is misspelled NPM packages, right? Misspelled NPM packages could be 1 letter, could be a couple letters, could be missing a letter. Attackers build these packages, put them on NPM, you install it without knowing, and then you're in deep shit. So one of these is not like the other, right? I know that I need this NPM express right here to build out a backend API, whatever, server. But, you know, because I type so fast, and I don't need to go to the website to copy and paste this, I just, NPM Express. Sweet, oh, look, it's installing. Oh, my terminal's doing a bunch of cool things. Sweet, known modules, oh. Sweet. Look at my package JSON. Oh yeah, it's Express is in there. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there, Express is in there. But I'm not going to my node modules to look for that, because I see it's in my package JSON. Why do I need to go to my node modules? I got to assume that it's going to be there. But that one might have malicious code in it. But I wasn't cognizant enough because I was cocky and just started typing without even looking at what I was doing, right? We got to think about those things. Importance and product and users. It's very, very important to keep this in mind. And you really have to think about your product and your users. Going back to the story of being cognizant about shipping code. Product and users. Visibility, right? Identifying all code sources so they can more rapidly identify hidden vulnerabilities. You usually find those in your transitive dependencies. Vulnerability management. Identify vulnerabilities within the device's manufacturer's underlying source code, which is usually third-party tools. Supply chain security. Mitigating supply chain risks arising from third-party tools and packages and libraries. Collaboration and patch management, working across various technology sectors, right? You want to be able to collaborate. And then compliance. Compliance is the big one that we were talking about. Regulatory compliance, all the various compliance standards. You don't want to be hit with compliance fines at the end of the day. This would not be a talk without putting in a hacker's GIF. This is one of my favorite movies in the world. Hack the Planet. Dade Murphy, he's not a bad guy. I mean, he did hack 15-something 100 systems or 15,000 systems when he was a kid. That doesn't matter. Has everybody seen this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This got me wanting to be a hacker in 1995, and I ended up becoming a web developer in 1996. So started with QBasic and then put QBasic away and picked up HTML, and now I'm teaching all of you about SBOMs in the front-end ecosystem. But attackers love to do this stuff. Attackers love to typo squat. They love to sit on these packages. They love to make these domains. They love to create these NPM packages. So somebody, maybe a junior developer, maybe a mid-level, maybe a senior, maybe someone that doesn't even know what they're doing, starts to install these things or go to these things, and we have problems on our hands once again, and I'll continue to say that. We also have increased requirements for SBOMs nowadays, right? And the big one is client trust building. Policy requirements, right? Some policies nowadays, kind of like that executive order that I was talking about, require you to have an SBOM, right? Process for older solutions. SBOMs are relatively-ish new, but older systems, old enterprise systems, they don't have SBOMs, right? So you got to be able to have a process to generate and build those SBOMs for those older solutions. A storage system for SBOMs. Now I'm not talking about like a storage system like a file cabinet, but a way to store them, right? You can store SBOMs in GitHub. You can store SBOMs in Artifactory or like Nexus, like those secured registry places. And then you can have those available. And that kind of goes into this next one. The accessibility for the SBOMs. Not accessibility in the terms of web accessibility, but accessibility to get them when a client is asking for them, right? Or if you generate a new one because you're shipping out a new patch, like we do at TuxCare, we would generate a new SBOM, and then we would provide that new SBOM to the user, the client, unless they were to generate their own SBOM and they have a GitHub workflow and they do it all their own. But at least we still have that there for them when they need it. So with all that being said, let's go to the terminal. Does everybody like playing in the terminal?
Yep.
I love me the terminal. The product that we're going to use, the tool we're going to use today is called Syft. And this is going to generate our SBOM. This is from a company called Anchor. The recommended way to do this, to install it, is using curl. So you just curl space dash SSFL, HTTPS, get Anchor, Syft, yada, yada, yada. I'm not too familiar with curl commands. Different schools of thought on whether you should use curl or not, but that's the recommended way to do it if you go to their GitHub. You can also install it with Brew. I love installing stuff with Brew. It just makes it more painless to get stuff installed on your machine. We didn't forget about Windows. They didn't forget about Windows. You can install this also with Chocolatey. So you can do Choco install Syft-Y. And for the people that are fully embedded in Microsoft systems, Microsoft actually has their own SBOM tool you install with Winget. And if you just go to github.com/Microsoft/SBOM-tool, it is verified. It is directly from Microsoft. There's a bunch of articles and stuff out there too about how they came out and with their own SBOM tool. You can use this if you're embedded in the Microsoft system. Totally fine. It's not a big deal. There's also two popular formats to generate an SBOM. There's SPDX, which is what we're going to be doing, and then CycloneDX. It depends on you and your organization on which one you choose. I can't tell you which one to choose. It's all on how your security and architecture team wants to generate your SBOMs. So let's generate some SBOMs. So this is when I would just open up VS Code and start doing this live. We're not going to do that. We're just going to run through this. So I run the Syft command, and I pass it the -o, SPDX, JSON, and we're going to turn that into SBOM.json. That's the SBOM right there. Not human readable at all. It's a machine readable JSON file. You can see right here, where's it at? Why isn't it working? There we go. I pass it a source name and just my JS project and a source version. The newer versions of Syft, if you don't pass those two parameters, it'll yell at you. It's like, oh, you know, it's best practice to do this, because then the SBOM generates that at the top. So if you don't do it, I don't know if it's really a big deal, but best practice is just to do it. And then down here, I took that SBOM and I used a tool called JQ. JQ is a JSON formatter, really, really cool. So what I did was I took JQ, and I took that SBOM.json and I concatenated it into SBOM-pretty.json, got it over here, and then now the SBOM is human readable. And you can actually see there's so much information in here. You have the name, you have an SPDX ID, you have version info, supplier, download location, file analyzed, source info, license concluded, license declared, so MIT, copyright text, external refs, reference category. There's tons and tons and tons of information in here. And they can just keep going and going and going, depending on how many packages that you have in your project, right? Well, let's say that we install a new package, and we want to regenerate that SBOM. Well, we can do that. So let's regen that SBOM. We're going to install a package called Lucide. It's like an icon library. You can have it for Angular, React, I think maybe Vue as well. So it's installed. We installed one package. We check in our package JSON file, and we can see it's right there, 0.544. Okay, cool. We have a new package. We're going to regen, I deleted the SBOMs. We're going to regen a new SBOM and see if that package was in there. Index is the file system. I'm going to run JQ again so I can read it and distinguish what's happening. And there we go. We know it's 0.544 because that's the one that was installed. So you can regen these, which you should be doing. But you can also do this too because you can do it in like a GitHub workflow. So let's say you install a new package, you push to a dev branch or a release branch or something. Even main, I wouldn't do it in main. You should always test before you push anything into main because main's usually tied to deploy. But you can generate these with a GitHub workflow as well. And then it will generate a new SBOM artifact for you in your GitHub, and you just go into your security or artifacts, whatever the section is, the tab. And then you can find the new SBOM. And then you can download that SBOM.json and pass it off to another team, hand it off to a customer, whatever you want to do. What you can also do, which is pretty sweet, SBOM security within your security. So there's two tools that I know of to do this, Gripe and Sneak. Has anybody heard of Gripe? Has anybody heard of Sneak?
Yeah.
Okay, Sneak is a great, great company. I have a handful of friends that work at Sneak. They're a cybersecurity company. Really, really cool logo too. But Gripe is also a tool from Anchor, and it lets you run a vulnerability scan within your project, within your SBOM, which is pretty cool. So the way that works is you generate your SBOM. This is just using Syft scan. See, I got a warning, no explicit name and version provided. Yeah, that's okay. That's no big deal. So it generated the SBOM for me. And then I'm going to run Gripe on it. And it's going to come back with a handful of vulnerabilities. And it's going to tell me, fixed in type vulnerability, that's the CVE name, 2025-47907, right here. Severity level is high, the risk. That's pretty cool. So you can scan for vulnerabilities within your SBOM. You can also do all that too inside a GitHub workflow if you wanted to. So you scan the project directory with gripe, so that scans the current repository root. You generate the SBOM with Syft. This is scanning the SBOM. Generate the SBOM with Syft in the format of SPDX. Output file, mysbom.spdx.json, or whatever you want to name it. It could just be sbom.json or whatever. And then you scan the SBOM with gripe, and then you can do that every time you push to a branch. You just specify that within your GitHub workflow. So, does that sound cool with everybody? Does everybody learn a little bit about SBOMs and what they mean and what they are and the importance of them? Awesome. So to recap, the reasons that we need an SBOM, A, because it's extremely important, right? We need to care about security, just like accessibility, just like performance. Component visibility, having visibility into those components. I'm going to repeat it again, vulnerability management. Having a way to figure out the vulnerabilities and being able to manage those. Supply chain security. You don't want what happened in Independence Day to happen to your software, right? We don't want that to happen. Collaboration, working across these teams, working across orgs. And then compliance, making sure that you're compliant. You don't want to have any compliance fines at the end of the day. There's the show notes QR code again, if you want to scan that and get the slides. Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit more about vulnerability management? So we're talking about how you can identify it.
Yeah, so like CVEs get published, and there's various like CVE trackers out there. Like if you were to go to TuxCare's website, our website, and you go to like our Angular or AngularJS docs, we have a table at the bottom for different versions, and it'll show you the CVEs that were patched within that. So that's one way of doing the tracking. But there's a handful of different trackers and websites out there that list those CVEs, or they get reported to the organization, and you do the research on it, figure out what it is, and then go through and patch those. Everybody cool with the QR code? Sweet. Also, like I said, if you want one of these shirts or another one, you want to know a little bit more about TuxCare, come find me. I'll be here all day. I might be in this room most of the day, but I have the VIP cards. It'd be awesome. You could use them, get a free shirt. I'm going to end it with this. I'm not saying it was the aliens, but it was the aliens. That's my time. We got 10 minutes, so I'm going to be out in the hallway kicking it. Catch me on Twitter, Salt and Burnham. If you're not on Twitter, christamars.net on Blue Sky. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you at the after party. Have a good ATL DevCon. That's it. I'm done.